this evening. Thank you to others. I think that was a great introduction to some really heartbreaking stories. Unfortunately, we're seeing things like that all over the place, and not all of them make the news. Sometimes it's just we're hearing stories from parents in the community and in the classroom. So there's a lot of work that can be done. There's a lot of work that we need to do together, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. I just introduce myself a little bit. I am a psychologist with JAFCO's Children's Ability Center, and we work with children and their families who have developmental disabilities from birth through age 21, basically, so that's our child category, and the whole spectrum. So we see anyone who could use our help. So we offer case management to help connect with services in the community. We offer respite in our center. We offer enrichment activities. We have drama, art, music. We have a lot of really great stuff. Parent support groups, sibling support groups. So we're really excited about helping people get involved. So part of my job there, I'm the program director, so I get to meet the families when they come in and do the intakes and hear some of the stories and do our best to assign the best way to help them. Before that, I worked for the Broward County School Board for a little bit as a psychologist, and I got to see that perspective as well. So it's a scary world out there to be a student sometimes. I would say my major focus is with children with disabilities, mainly autism, so that's kind of a perspective I'm going to go from tonight, but I'm happy to speak to the larger issue and answer any questions. I think it's important for this to be a conversation, so I'll try to go through this relatively quickly, ask questions at any time, and I think the most important part is afterwards we can engage in a dialogue with Judge Lazarus and myself and answer whatever questions you have. It's important to talk about. So let me move this over here. And then I can see you and see this at the same time. Okay. So I was hoping to address, and I'm going to go through some of this because Judge Lazarus covered it, what is bullying, the impact of bullying, and what we can do to help. So we talked about bullying, imbalance of power, repetitive, aggressive acts, and these can be all kinds of things. Cyberbullying is huge these days. Technology is pervasive. Many children have a cell phone already, and by the time they're in middle school, that's in their pocket 24/7, right? So that's an access to information, but it's also access for other people to text message them, Facebook message, all kinds of things that are really could be harmful. Children with disabilities are at increased risk of being bullied. They say 60% of children with disabilities have experienced bullying, or and that's a large number. Part of that, I think, has to do with there's a lot of factors that go into here. We have a huge movement in education. It's a great movement toward mainstreaming. So we bring students with disabilities, many of them who have social impairments, and we put them in a mainstream classroom and say, okay, this is where you want to have fun, go learn something, but we don't always prepare them fully for that, for those interactions, for those social challenges, for reading those social cues. Autism is a social disability, and a lot of times children have difficulty recognizing social cues, engaging in typical social interactions, verbally expressing what they're feeling, explaining to their parents what they're feeling. They oftentimes take things very literally and at face value. So that's a big challenge. To support children in school, we really want to build up these social skills programs, to give them that support they need, to give them that skills they need. I've had several cases, and this is kind of touching on that point of not understanding nuances in language. Sometimes it's a difficulty, and taking things literally, where a child with autism becomes a victim of a peer group, usually a typically developing peer group, and they'll become the bully, and they'll say, don't tell anyone about this. If you do this, I'm going to kill your parents. Or if you do this, I'm going to do something else horrible to you. And they believe it. And they believe these children have the power to do that because they feel inferior, they feel victimized in that situation, and they don't tell anybody. And they keep them inside. And they don't have anything to do with that. So on top of all everything else, we have to figure out how to support these children so they feel comfortable talking, so they know what they can talk about, and so that they feel safe in school. And that's one of the big things we're working on constantly. I'm going to try and let's go forward a little more. So we talked about technology. Cyberbullying is a huge problem for all children, and that's where the Blue Whale started as an app. And we're hearing about that all over the place because it's so pervasive. So, more and more children, younger and younger, are getting cell phones. So what do? They have it in their pockets. So parents, you need to have some kind of relationship with them. And later on, I had some ideas that I pulled from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, where they have great suggestions about how to do it. Making a contract with your child, friending your child on all the social media that you can. And children are smart and they get around it and everything else, but knowing what's going on there, maybe turning in the phone at night, having that kind of open relationship so that you can really know what's going on. And we can prepare our children for those realities. This just This was a 2013 risk behavior survey, so it's almost 20% of children have experienced bullying. This is for the typical population, and kind of broke it down 20% physically, 50% verbally, 50% socially, 13% electronically. So a lot of overlap there. A lot of those things are happening together, so the electronic and social bullying, those kind of things. But it's really prevalent. It just shows that these huge numbers show the prevalence of it, and that there is a need for us to do something about it. It's more about cyberbullying. So bullying, aside from the social emotional effects, which we can talk about also, it impacts the school. It impacts the learning process. And school is our major environment where our children are living and existing. They spend most of their waking time in school and with their peer group, with the teachers, and they need to feel safe. But it has so many negative outcomes. So we're talking about substance abuse, victims of bullying, delinquency, suicide we mentioned, and we can talk about that a little bit more, truancy, mental health, physical injury, and decreased academic performance. So the impact of bullying really is pervasive and spreads the gamut. Can cause a lot of harm. Witnesses, we know that there's a lot of research about the effect it has on witnesses, and maybe even some post-traumatic stress, especially for physical bullying. But you can see that they also, researchers show that they've had problems with anxiety, depression, and the increased sense of vulnerability. So talk about the impact a little bit. Just another case, tragic children as young as 8 and 12 have died, young children by suicide from bullying. Judge Lazarus shared some cases, and this is one I found online. A parent actually successfully sued a school board in, was it Cleveland? And in Cincinnati, because their son committed suicide after bullying, and the school really, it was shown that they didn't do anything, and they kind of tried to cover it up as well. So the schools have a huge responsibility. But it's really a community thing, so schools have a part to play in it, mental health professionals have a part to play, and then the parents do it, and we need to all work together. So according to the CDC, suicide is the third leading cause of death among young people, resulting in about 4,400 deaths per year. It's a staggering number. Bully victims are between 2 to 9 times more likely to consider suicide than non-victims, according to a study at Yale. So there are many studies, and this just kind of touches on the fact that bullies are also at risk. Bullies are bullying for a reason a lot of the time. Bullies have been bullied before most of the time. So we need to have a more holistic approach on how to treat the victim and the bully themselves, to have a more corrective approach to kind of curb this. I'm going to try and get back to this later on, but when we talk a little bit more about suicide, we're thinking about the warning signs and looking for that in children, but that includes withdrawal, depression. In children, it looks a little different than in adults. Maybe giving away some prized possessions, a favorite toy, a Lego set, something like that. Talking about plans, saying, kind of throwing in the towel, saying there's nothing left for me to live for. Those kind of things are things we want to kind of tune into. Rapid change of behaviors, those kind of things. Those are always very concerning, and children have a different way of expressing that and processing that than adults do. So just, we'll say it again at the end, if you're noticing this, it's always important right away to get some help. I run a lot of flyers, checking out later on, the suicide hotlines. 211 Broward is a great resource. They have a suicide hotline for children and adults. Community services, we have a lot of great services in our community, Smith Community Mental Health, Henderson, Chrysalis, all have mental health programs that are often low cost or free of charge to help children in this kind of situation. So there is help out there, there's great resources. And they really can't be ignored. Okay, so what can we do? This is the important part. So the old outlook was kids will be kids, right? Like, or boys will be boys, or anything like that. We're just like, I turned out okay, I went through all this, so you can too, but that's really not. It's getting worse. It's getting much worse, especially like we're saying with the technology, and the children are suffering. So we can't look at it like that anyway. That needs to be in the past, and we really need to say that this is not okay. Our children deserve a safe space. So higher parental support was associated with less involvement across all forms and classifications of bullying. Having more friends was associated with more bullying, and less victimization of physical or verbal relational forms. Yeah, it sounds easy. Make more friends and you won't be bullied. So it's not that easy. Often victims don't have that peer support group. So the question is, what can we do to support them? How can we foster A friendly school environment. How can we foster an environment where people are reporting bullying and it's not viewed as tattletaling, it's not viewed as snitching, it's not viewed as anything like that? How can we help the children? So for parents, I think probably there's a lot of parents in the room. I have young children as well. I think about this often. So observe your child for signs that they might be being bullied. So what does that look like? Ripped clothing and bruises, that kind of thing is kind of obvious. Where did you get that? Talk about it. Have the conversation. Don't let them brush it away. Hesitation about going to school, taking illness maybe more often, coming up with excuses, all that kind of stuff. Decreased appetite, that kind of goes along with depression symptoms. Nightmares, crying, general depression, anxiety. Maybe it's being displaced and they're having anxiety about other things that they used to enjoy. They stop doing those kind of things. This I got from the, it says, don't tell them, let it go, or suck it up. That's not helpful. You know, sometimes we need to toughen our children a little bit, but we really need to listen to them more. We need to hear what they have to say, what they're feeling, what they're going through, so we can support them. Have open-ended conversations where you can learn what's going on. So don't, you know, maybe it's not, you know, who did this to you, but like, what's going on? How are you feeling about going to school? But, you know, let them talk a little bit more. Show that you're willing to hear and there's not going to be a consequence for that. It's not, oh, who started it? You know? It's more about listening, giving your children a very safe space where they're open to communicating with you. Most importantly, let your children know you'll help them. Safety is number one. So your children need to feel safe talking to you. In the center where I work, that's like our number one goal, and I tell all the clinicians that work with me, it's our job. Everything else we can find. We can find them a good therapist, we can find X, Y, and Z. We need to project safety, and we need them to feel safe with us, and we need them to feel safe talking to us and trusting us so that we can really help them. Otherwise, we're just another person that let them get bullied. So building that safety, whether it's a parent, as a friend, as a neighbor, as a teacher, are all crucially important. Talked about this a little bit. It's a lengthy one, setting boundaries with technology, so maybe making a technology contract, insisting that they're friends with you on Facebook and all the social media, turning in your phone at night, letting you check the text messages. So on one hand, it could appear invasive, and as the children get older, it might be. But on the other hand, it's a way to teach accountability. It's a way to teach that you're not alone in this, and that you don't have to do this alone. And it's a trusting relationship. There's no hiding anything. Stop bullying before it starts. That's another important job for parents. Educate your children about bullying, what it looks like, what you can look for. Maybe your child's not being bullied, but his friends are, or his neighbor is. So how can they help? How can you stand up for a friend? How can you let someone know without it being a big situation? And then it also says remind them that it can have legal consequences. So make your home bully free. It's our job as parents, as educators, to model behavior. So if they see us engaging in those, even if it's joking with friends or other adults, they're going to copy that behavior. So we have to show we're adults, we have a little bit more resilience, we know it, we can understand the nuances of sarcasm a little bit better. Children don't have that. They're watching our every move, so we need to be very careful with that. Empower children to report. We need to show them that if they report, if they tell a teacher or a friend that one, something's going to happen, we believe them, and that's a big thing. And two, that they're not going to get in trouble for it. They're not going to get ostracized for it. So we need to create a culture and environment in the classroom where it's okay, where there's a method of doing that. And I know the school system is working hard on that and finding the right way, and it's hard. Bullying changes everything. The kids change their tactics, and it's really difficult, and no one wants to be that person, but we need to encourage an environment where that's okay, where there's a method to do it, whether it's anonymous or otherwise, and there's consequences for action. So we touched on this a little bit, creating safe and supportive environment in school, positive school climate. When students who perceive their schools as safe and supportive are more likely to report threats to safety. So if you have an overall safe school environment, which is our goal, these when bullying happens, it can be more rare and people are going to want to report it more. Assess the situation. If you're working in a school or a community center or anywhere else, determine how often bullying occurs. Talk to the children. Where is it happening? How is it happening? Are people intervening? What could we do to do different? Children have a lot of insights in this. All children. So what could I have done to help you? I'm sorry that happened to you. Like, what could we have done to make this better so that doesn't happen again? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you exactly what you did wrong and what you could do better. Engage with parents and youth in dialogue, much like this. Have children have assemblies with parents and children together. It's not a separate issue. We need to all be on the same page about that. What's going on? What can we do? Have the parents continue the conversations at home. Policies and rules, obviously, with punishment for bullying, that kind of thing. Safe school environment. This is what I was talking about a little bit before. Mainstreaming doesn't cut it for children with disabilities. We really need to have those social opportunities for children to learn the social skills. All children, not just children with disabilities. Everyone can really benefit from the social skills training. What's appropriate boundaries? What's hurtful? Maybe it's hard to see, like maybe I thought something was funny that I said and someone else is really going home and having a hard time with it. So being able to have those interactions, providing that social skills training. Yeah, school curriculum is pretty cut and dry, but we can very easily intertwine the social skills curriculum with language arts, with recess time, with everything else. It's very, very important. This is more about the social emotional skills for students with autism. Peer awareness, so making groups of friends that will stick up for each other. Signing a contract, so you have a bullying contract here. That kind of thing, so everyone supports each other, so everyone feels like they have that group. Having peer mentoring groups, having peer support groups, and small social skills groups, all will help. Students who experience bullying may feel overwhelmed or anxious. Find help. There's a lot of good resources out there. Sometimes a good teacher, sometimes a big brother, big sister program, sometimes it's a mental health professional, sometimes it's a sports team and a coach. But finding that right thing for your child, don't let them sit with it. And don't give up. If one thing doesn't work, you want to try. There's so many different resources out there. These were some of the resources, and I can give you more information. Jacko, of course, is always willing to help, and I have a bunch of our literature, but Chrysalis is a great community resource, Smith Community Mental Health, Henderson. They all have outpatient mental health programs. There's a behavior response team, so depending on the level, they can all help. They're all local. And then the suicide prevention hotline. It's a great resource. You should always call if you know somebody, or you should encourage someone who is thinking about suicide to call, and children should have access to that as well. And I've noticed that's posted in a lot of middle schools and high schools, like the 211 Team Talk one, and that kind of thing, and that's exactly what it's for. So I have some. These are some of the things I'll hand out. It's more kid focused, but it has to do with like a bystander concept and standing up to bullies and that kind of thing. I went through some of that pretty quickly, but I'm excited to hear what everyone else has to say and answer any questions. And thank you for having me. And I hope that